The knock was calm. Not loud. Not insistent. 3 short taps. As if the person behind the door was absolutely certain that the door would be opened. I instinctively glanced at my watch. 5 minutes to midnight. Who could be coming at a time like this? I slowly walked over to the door and looked through the peephole. No one. The landing was completely empty. Only a dim light bulb hanging from the ceiling swayed slightly, as if someone had just walked past. I opened the door. A small white envelope lay on the doormat. No stamp. No address. Just 2 letters, written by hand. B. That's what my friends used to call me when I was younger, Ben Brown. But I hadn't heard that abbreviation in over 20 years. I quickly picked up the envelope and scanned the stairwell. Empty. The elevator wasn't working. The steps were completely clean. As if no one had ever been there. I locked the door with all the locks. Inside the envelope was an old black and white photograph. It showed 3 men standing near a railroad car. I didn't know 2 of them. But I recognized the 3rd one right away. It was me. Only 25 years old. I looked at the photo and didn't understand a thing. There was just one problem. I had never been photographed near that train car. Never. What's more, there was a date on the back of the photo. August 17, 1984. I really was on that train that day. But I was traveling all by myself. At least, that's what I'd always been sure of. I turned the photo over once more. In the lower right corner, someone had written in pencil. "You've forgotten that night." "We haven't." A chill ran down my spine. I looked at the suitcase again. Now the money no longer seemed to be the main mystery. I began going through the documents. The first envelope contained old newspaper clippings. The second, several train tickets. The third made me forget everything else. Inside was a thick notebook. On the first page, in neat handwriting, it read: "The diary of a man who was supposed to die on train number 47. I opened the first page. And after just the first few lines, I realized the author was describing that very same trip I had once taken myself. Every stop. Every conversation. Even the tea vendor who walked through the car. Everything matched down to the smallest detail. But as I read on, the text grew stranger and stranger. The author wrote that there was a man with a brown suitcase in the car. He wrote that this man was being followed. He wrote that if the suitcase fell into the wrong hands, an innocent person would die many years later. I flipped several pages ahead at once. And suddenly I saw my name. In capital letters. If Ben opens the suitcase, it means the chain of events has already begun. How could the author have known my name? And most importantly, why was this diary written decades ago? I kept reading. The last entry ended mid-sentence. And at the very bottom of the page was a note in different handwriting. "He's already here. Don't look out the window." Of course, I looked. And I regretted it. Across the street, right under the streetlight, stood that same man in the gray coat. He didn't move. He didn't ring the doorbell. He didn't knock. He just stared at my windows. And then he slowly raised his right hand. And held up 4 fingers. As if some kind of countdown were beginning. I instinctively glanced at my watch. Midnight. Exactly 12. When I looked up again, the man was already holding up 3 fingers. I didn't understand what was happening. Was it a threat? A warning? Or some kind of code signal? I took a step back and drew the curtain. My heart was pounding so loudly that it felt like the whole apartment could hear it. Only one thought kept running through my head. I need to call the police. I reached for my phone. But just then, the screen lit up on its own. The number was hidden. For a few seconds, I just stared at the call. Then I answered. Ben, a calm male voice said. Who is this? That doesn't matter now. Listen carefully. If you want to stay alive, don't look out the window anymore and don't give the suitcase to anyone. Who are you? In 2 minutes, someone will knock on your door. No matter what you hear, don't open it. The connection was cut off. I looked at my watch. There were less than 2 minutes left. Silence. Absolute silence. Even the refrigerator seemed to have stopped humming. A minute passed. Then another 30 seconds. And suddenly, the doorbell rang. Not a knock. A doorbell, specifically. A short ring. Then another. Then a calm male voice. Mr. Ben. I said nothing. We're with the police. We received a report of a suspicious object in your apartment. I froze. How could they have known? I looked through the peephole again. There really were 2 men in uniform standing outside the door. Police officers. Or people in very convincing disguises. One was holding a clipboard. The other was writing something down. It all looked perfectly natural. But the stranger's words came back to me. Whatever you hear, don't open the door. I decided to test them. Give me your badge number. There was a pause on the other side of the door. Too long. A real police officer would have answered right away. After a few seconds, the voice changed. It turned cold. Don't make this any harder, Mr. Ben. Now I was sure. This wasn't the police. I slowly stepped away from the door. And suddenly I heard a soft metallic sound. Someone had inserted a key into the keyhole. My hands went cold. The key turned slowly. The first turn. The second. The third. But the door didn't open. Because an old metal bolt, which I almost never used, was slid into place from the inside. An irritated whisper came from outside. Then quick footsteps. And silence fell once more. I waited a few more minutes. Then I cautiously peeked out the window. The street was empty. The man in the gray coat had disappeared. It seemed like it was all over. But just then I noticed something strange. The suitcase wasn't where I'd left it. I was absolutely certain I'd put it next to the table. Now it was almost right by the door. At first, I figured it was just my nerves. That I'd simply mixed things up. But then I saw a long scratch on the floor. As if someone had slowly dragged a heavy suitcase across the hardwood floor. All by itself. There was no one else in the apartment but me. I took a few steps back. And only then did I notice that one of the envelopes inside the suitcase had been opened. Even though I definitely hadn't opened it. The corner of another photograph was sticking out of it. I carefully pulled out the photo. The photo showed my apartment. This very one. Only the photo had been taken from the street. From the window of the building across the way. I turned the photo over. On the back was a fresh inscription written in black ink. Now you, too, have become a keeper. And they already know your address. I felt a chill run down my spine. And at that very moment, the lights in the apartment went out.